All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a crisis that's hiding in plain sight: Ghana's overwhelming plastic problem. And this isn't happening in some far off place. It's unfolding every single day in the streets, the markets, and the homes of millions.
So, this isn't a natural disaster in the way you might think. It is absolutely a man made crisis. And this quote, it just perfectly captures that paradox, right? The very things designed to make life easier are now threatening to completely overwhelm the people they're meant to serve. Okay, so let's really dive into this. On one side, you've got the promise of plastic: cheap, clean water in a sachet, food that stays fresh, you name it. But on the other side, wow, the price is just enormous. We're talking about massive urban flooding, the spread of diseases, and huge economic losses.
So, you have to ask yourself, how did we get here? How did this dependency on plastic get so deeply woven into the fabric of daily life? Let's unpack what's really going on with this convenience trap.
And you can see the appeal, right? I mean, plastic itself isn't the bad guy. It's cheap, it's strong, and it works. In a country like Ghana, it provides really affordable ways to do everything from preserve food to deliver medicine. For millions of people who don't have clean running water, that little plastic water sachet isn't a choice, it's an absolute necessity. And this is where we get to the real heart of the issue. There's this huge systemic mismatch. Plastic use has just exploded. But think about it. We're using stuff designed to last for centuries for just a few minutes, and then there's just nowhere for it to go. The infrastructure, the waste collection, the recycling, it just hasn't kept up. Not even close. So now let's trace how this all snowballs into a predictable and, frankly, devastating chain reaction. This is where a single piece of trash can become the trigger for a total catastrophe. This lays it out perfectly. It's like a domino effect. A simple act, multiplied by millions of people, day after day, transforms a normal rainstorm into a devastating man-made flood. What gets called a natural disaster is often anything but. It's a direct result of drain completely choked with plastic. And the worst part? When the water finally goes down, the plastic is still there, just waiting for the next storm. And look, this problem doesn't just stay in the city. It doesn't respect boundaries. A piece of trash thrown on a street in Accra gets washed into the drains, then into the rivers, and eventually out into the ocean. It ends up harming marine life and threatening the very survival of coastal fishing communities who depend on that ecosystem for their livelihood. You see the floods, right? The visible damage is obvious, but the true cost of this crisis goes so much deeper, and it's often invisible. Let's talk about the real price being paid here in both health and money. So, we're not just talking about some unsightly litter. No, this is a full-blown public health crisis. The stagnant, filthy water left behind by these floods, it's a perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes carrying malaria. It's how waterborne diseases like cholera spread. And the go-to solution for getting rid of waste, burning it, well, that just releases toxic, cancer-causing fumes into the air. And you can guess who bears the worst of it: the poorest communities. And the economic hit? It's just staggering. We're talking about millions upon millions of cedis every year. Money that should be going to schools, to hospitals, to building a better future is instead being poured into emergency cleanups, fixing damaged roads, and covering lost income for businesses. It's a constant preventable drain on the economy. All right, so this is where things get complicated. When you have a crisis this big, everybody wants to know who's responsible. Untangling this web of blame is probably the toughest part of the whole story. You know, when this topic comes up, it's so easy to just point the finger at one group. Usually it's citizens themselves for, littering. But is it really that simple? Let's be honest, the real picture is way more complex. This table breaks it down so well. See, blaming individuals just lets the real systemic failures off the hook. Sure, individual choices matter, but what choice do you have when there are literally no public bins, no reliable trash collection, and massive corporations are just flooding the market with single-use plastics that can't even be recycled, all while the government isn't enforcing its own laws? It's a shared failure. So yeah, everyone has a part to play, but let's be real. Responsibility is not spread out equally. This quote really hits the nail on the head. The people with the most power to actually change the system, we're talking the corporations producing all this plastic and the government that's supposed to be regulating them, they have the biggest responsibility to fix it. And that leads us to maybe the most unsettling part of this whole thing. The problem isn't a secret. It's not hidden away. It is happening right out in the open for everyone to see.
The crazy thing is, because this crisis is literally part of the daily landscape, it becomes normal. It's so familiar that it's dangerously easy to just ignore it, to tune it out. Its urgency just gets lost in the day-to-day grind. That is, of course, until the next big flood comes along and serves as a brutal, deadly reminder of the consequences.
So you have to ask yourself, who's actually profiting from all this? Who benefits from a system where the consequences, the floods, the disease, the cleanup costs, are all paid for by the public, but the financial gains are kept private?
And on the flip side of that coin, who pays the real price? Just think about the families living in low-lying neighborhoods who lose everything, their homes, their possessions, their health, over and over again, every single rainy season. They're the ones paying with a currency far more valuable than money.
And this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? After all these years, after all the talk, why is this still happening? It really forces us to wonder if this is just a case of simple neglect or if it's something more, a deliberate choice about who gets protected, who is held accountable, and ultimately whose lives matter most. At the end of the day, the crisis keeps going because the focus is always on the symptom, the flood, and never on the disease. This quote says it all. It's like a whole nation is trying to fight a flood with buckets while completely ignoring the mountains of plastic clogging the drains right under their feet. Until those systemic drains are cleared, the flood is just going to keep coming back.